This is the Dog Savant Podcast with your host, Brett Endies.
Hello and welcome to the Dog Savant Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Endies. This is a show about dog training, dog behavior, and all things related to my life as a Los Angeles dog trainer. Today is episode 45. Welcome. Welcome to all of you new listeners, anyone who's been continuing to listen. Thank you so much for supporting the show. I always at the beginning want to get it out of the way. Please don't forget to subscribe to this show on iTunes, rate, review, share on social media. We also have a YouTube version of the show, youtube.com/dogtrainingla, and my primary website is dogtrainingla.com. Love your support of the show. It's how we keep this thing going. We also have a Patreon page, patreon.com/thedog-savant. Really, all your support, even the questions, feedback, I really love it. It keeps it going. Some of you ask, why do I do this? Why do I put myself out there? Why do I give this free content? Reality is I've done what I do for a long time. I've heard from too many unrelated people that what I'm teaching is working. It's helping dogs, or even some training or information they've gotten from other places like online. It's working where that hasn't, and I wanted to be able to share this information with people who may not have good quality dog training in their local area, or if you're a client of mine and you need supplementary information and content that can help you achieve the goals that we're trying to get in our work together here privately in Los Angeles. So again, keep that coming. I do a lot of Q&A, some of you might notice, so keep sending me your questions. I like being able to help you directly too by you sending in your questions here to my email or on social media as well. You can also hear, I always got to qualify in the background, I'm in the car, the sound quality is not always so great, but that's why I always ask for support of the show. Because of it, will help us grow, and it'll give us the ability to have hopefully a real studio, better production quality, and all that good stuff. But for now, just thank you for listening. It really makes me feel good that even if two people more and their dogs are helped because of the information I'm taking the time to put out there, I'm going to keep trying to put this out for you. So we get a weekly episode. I'm even thinking about maybe putting out more than one episode a week, so stay tuned for that too. Okay, so while I'm rattling on, I'm in the back of my mind trying to think of what maybe we could do as a show topic for today, because sometimes I just go right off the top of the head, stream of consciousness style, but I like to keep it relevant to some kind of something related to dog training, dog behavior, and even a continuation of some episodes we've done on some of the more important matters like anxiety, puppy training, potty training, leash issues, the overall psychology of dogs and owners, and how the human-dog relationship can sometimes be misinterpreted in terms of what's going on. So let's see, as I'm talking, let's see if it comes out to me. It's sort of like a slot machine. Whatever goes, we're going to hit on. Let's talk about dog responsibility. I think I've had an episode similar about have your dog on leash, these kind of things. I was actually that's why, being in the car, I'm always coming from usually a dog training session, so I have some subject matter I can share with you. So I was with a client, I've been working with him for a while, and he's doing good work. He has a nice German Shepherd dog, real handsome, smart dog, very driven. So we're at the dog park trying to teach him some impulse control, working on some distance, duration, which is teaching a dog to listen from further away and for longer time periods in command, and then carrying that over to some recall work. What I did notice were there's some people, and it was an off-leash dog park where the fence line began, but in the parking lot and other areas of the public park, it was not for dogs to be off-leash. And as usually when you spend enough time out in the public, you're going to see some people not following the rules. And I even feel if you have your dog under good control and it stays at your side and it 100% will not take off and infringe on the space of someone or their dogs out in public, or call back immediately so it won't do that, I don't think it's the best thing, because people might be nervous when they see it, not know the level of your dog's training, acumen. But but it really never goes that way. It's people's dogs have a limit. They kind of stay near the owner, and then when they see you and your dog and they want to yell he's friendly, your dog's already run up to them. And today was even kind of worse, because what I saw was a dog ran up to a lady who was just jogging, just minding her business in the park, and these people's two little Bijans start attacking and biting at the person's feet. And of course, the owner of these two little dogs had no ability to call their dog off. They had to run up and physically grab them, and it didn't even look like they were apologizing, which I would be embarrassed if my dogs had done that. And a lot of people, I think what we're dealing with is there's a very, very lack of shame. Everybody's ego-driven in this society, and I talk a lot about the indulgence and the big N, the narcissism that is really promoted and almost encouraged in our world, especially here where I live in Los Angeles, where it's a me type of city. But the thing is, these people, if they don't, it affects others who aren't trying to infringe their life or their world upon others or affect them in a negative way. That's why I have to take issue and say something. So I didn't say anything because it wasn't related to us. It was sort of from afar. But it's a case in point that even people who have an off-leash dog park right there, they can just walk their dog with a leash, go in the corral, let them loose and have at it. They can't even control themselves for that extra couple hundred feet to get from the parking lot or at a park where it's not appropriate. Heck, they even have here in Los Angeles, Runyon Canyon Park. It's a very famous place where it is a huge hiking trail where the dogs are allowed off leash. And I encourage that for your dogs if they're more advanced and they can come back and they don't take off and they're socially appropriate around other dogs and people and they don't have to be restricted in their space. Oh gosh, that is the most amazing thing if your dog's controllable. But, and there I find in general, once your dog, where it's more like that, the people have better command. But you'll get people whose dogs weren't ready for it because their perception of their dog's behavior patterns were not what is really going on. And they're also the first ones that if you tell them that maybe you should have more control of your dog or leash him on up, they get defensive and they want to attack you as someone who's just asking for them to have common consideration for other humans and their dogs out in public. So if you're one of those people, please, you're affecting other people. Let me invoke some compassion in your heart and realize that although you want your freedom, you're going to have to make some effort to find the places where it's appropriate, because there's a lot of people who are out there trying to work on their dog or enjoy themselves, and even if their dog is friendly, don't want to deal with it. They might be having some personal problems and going on a walk just to deal with, their lives, or they have some, just, you got to ask first. You have to assume that other people have things going on too and not just make it about you. My clients go through this. I'm out walking 5-6 times a day in different neighborhoods and public spaces with owners and their dogs, and it happens daily. It's so frequently, it's just so common. Oh, it sounds like I'm always ranting on this podcast, doesn't it? I have a lot of passion behind what I do. I live the life. I am not phoning in my work. I love being able to help and promote responsible dog ownership to anyone that's willing to listen. So I use this almost as a therapeutic outlet too, because when I speak like this to those people I'm mentioning, they usually don't say, "Oh yeah, I realized the error of my ways." They just, like I say, get more defensive and want to blame the messenger, and I'm getting old and it's exhausting. All right, so etiquette in public, you want to have control. Work on these things so your dog is more trustworthy and you can go to more places where your dogs can be off leash and enjoy it. Go to a hiking trail where it's allowed. Just in normal neighborhoods, out in public, it is not appropriate. No matter how well you think your dog listens, it probably doesn't. And even if it does, you're freaking people out whose dogs need space. Okay, their kids might need space. You just never know. People need more empathy. They need to kind of assume how other people's are going through things in their, from their perspective, not just your own, and indulge and infringe that upon others. Okay, I've said my piece on that. Picking up after your dog. Boy, have I spoken about this. There's other people and their dogs or themselves don't want to step in shit. People want nice spaces in front of their houses, especially in these apartment areas. There's a lot of neighborhoods that are mostly apartment buildings, and this shit will stack up quickly. You need to pick up after your dogs. I lived in a place, and I don't know if this really, I think they can really do it. They would always have you do a DNA test on your dog, and they keep that on record. So if your dog shit and they didn't pick it up, or you didn't pick it up, they can sample and catch you. Or put camera. I think it's good. It makes people honest. You can't rely on people having consideration. Some people are considerate, some people, and I've had, unfortunately, an owner forgot their poop bag and it's an honor system. I'll get it the next time. That's different. There's habitual shitters. These people just don't want to pick up because they know they'll look around, no one's looking, it's sight unseen, like it never happened. Yet it accumulates, and when it rains, it turns awful. In places where it snows, when it melts. I used to live in Denver. It's another place with a lot of younger people who never were taught responsibility from their parents, so they think that they're entitled to let their shit just kind of sit there. Then after it snows on top of it and melts, you get the shit mud and the fudge coming out. It's horrible. I hate to be descriptive, but whatever it takes to get people to open their eyes that these are real problems. See, I'm out there more than the average, seeing the world from the dog owner's eyes, and a lot of people complain to me too. So they're afraid to speak because that's not their area of expertise, or where they have a sounding board or a platform. My little platform that I do have, I feel I have to say my piece. Otherwise, I'm doing every responsible dog owner a disservice, and maybe again 1 or 2 of you will hear this, feel bad, and realize maybe you'll correct the error of your ways. Maybe not. So carry poop bags. If your dog shits and you don't have one, try to find a remedy, or get back and pick it up, or do the honor system. Pick two of other poops up if you forgot your poop behind, and it'll all even out in the long run. All right, let's see other things. Personal space. Even now, if your dog is friendly and somebody invites it, your dog may have a jumping problem that you think it's cute that your dog jumps on you, but now this carries over to other people and they're jumping on people's kids or guests in your home. Not everyone likes that, or people are scared of it, or with a little kid, even a friendly dog can hurt them by over exuberance. So what you allow that you like because it feels good for you carries over to now your dog being a problem for others. So this now is something you have to work on individually and indulge some of the things. And quite frankly, dogs get a lot of other issues if they're allowed to jump and cling into your space. As I talk about a lot of my anxiety type of episodes, and not making an effort and thinking that it's all fun because you believe so, and your dogs or other people are being effective. I just don't agree with that, and I'll never let someone get away with that. I don't know how much you want to deflect, but I like, but I want, but I this. But your dog's a problem for others, so cut it out and let's get with the program. And I think your dog's not happy having to go so wild over every new breeding or transition too. Subject for other podcasts, but still a point that needs to be made. So, teach your dog manners and spatial awareness, and then they can be out more in public and interact, mingle, socialize, and they're not going to be a burden on others or a potential danger. Or a safety issue for themselves. Dogs that have impulse control issues are the first to run off when they see something they want to get at without any buffer, and then they run into traffic or into an unsafe situation, right? So, even for your dog's sake, your own needs, whatever motivates you, get that work done. Let's see, any other things related to being a responsible dog owner. Teaching a dog a recall, that I think is just more so your dog can have freedom, and the work put in can make your dog have a more fulfilling and fruitful life. Being in public place, I once saw a dog sitting on a table. Having your dog's ass where we have to put our food or drinks is really not fun for other people, even though you don't mind it. Coming back to your personal preferences aren't always the rest of the world, and there has to be a sort of standard of civility in society, and a set of, at least some social rules and graces we follow so that we can all live together, or we're all going to be, pretty much like, what's that movie with, what's that movie with the kids live on the island? It's the one with the kids live on the island. But yeah, we can't have that anarchy. We have to have everything go. That'll come to me here in the 11th hour, the name of that book that we read, the Island movie. Someone tell me what that is if you hear what I'm trying to figure out. I'm going to look it up after I record this. Let's see. Okay, so just all these little tidbits that I find out when addressing you get a better dog, you're not being a jerk to people in the world. You'll have more experiences and opportunities to have time out there with your life and getting your dog to have a fulfilled time out there. Okay, let's see. We keep these short because stream of consciousness is hard, and while I'm driving, holding my attention while I'm dealing with all this chaos going on every side of me. Driving is a war here in Los Angeles. I keep it short. When I'm sitting, when I do some, as you've heard with other people, I get them a little more long form, and maybe when I have a studio I can sit down and focus more on a longer, and sometimes you get them, but really they're about 15 to 20 minutes or so, and I hope that's good. I hope that gets the information, keeps it topical, gets a little info out there that you need to keep you rolling for your dog's benefit, and then you wait for the next week or the next episode for some more info. All right, Q&A, let's do it. Got some notes. So, Q&A. Oh, we talk about this one a lot. All right, so I started applying the training that you recommended in your podcast and even in your show, the Untrainables. Thanks for watching. And my dog was good sometimes. When I start taking him on walks, or I ask him to go on their kennel, or when we encounter a new person or dog at the home or in public, they lose their mind and they start having what looks like a tantrum. Am I hurting my dog by using the collar at these times, and what does it mean, and what do I do? Okay, so you're not hurting your dog because you're using the collar plenty other times and there's not the same response. Your dog learns that the collar and the training you're implementing means that you have more control than probably you had demonstrated in their eyes or a human had demonstrated prior, so you have some growing pains and terms to how much they're going to accept when you start training. So I think you're doing a good job at home, but now you have to start applying it in the real world. And a lot of dogs will start freaking out when you're asking them to listen and focus when you encounter one of these situations you described. So my best recommendation is to try to get them into whatever command is going to calm them down and get the order, and really put some emphasis on working in these specific transitions, environments, or social interactions that are triggering a stronger response and resistance from your dog. You don't want to fight it, so don't start correcting your dog, don't start yelling at them or making it a big to-do. You want to stay calm, and even if you walk, use your heel, your let's go command, get your dog in a sit, reset back into a place if you have one in the environment, and get your dog to learn that their tantrum is not going to change things. You're A, not going to give in, but B, you're not going to fight it, and you being the one as the human who can take the higher ground are going to skillfully guide your dog through it and navigate it through the use of your commands, whether it be moving commands again, like heel and let's go. I have plenty of episodes and media out there that demonstrates this, or the stationary commands like let's go, sit, like sit down, place, holding their position and just focusing, because it's all about getting them to decompress and get their attention back into a state of single pointed attention, which is really, I always say, meditation for dogs. But when they're panicking, they're so overstimulated, they get unconscious to what's going on around them, and you have to guide them through till they realize that not leading, not trying to be 10 steps ahead, which is usually why these dogs fight these transitions when you start training, is they don't realize that by being still, calm, and steady, and actually an easier way to get through it, they still are going to get A to B accomplished and then live another day for it to do it again. So every day it gets easier. You have to handle the tantrums. When I start as a trainer and I have some dogs that are very strong-willed, will really start fighting. Sometimes they'll even come back at me and start biting at the leash or my hands or my legs, just really out of reactivity to try to get me off their case. How we handle it is really important, because even I thought, am I hurting the dog? Am I making it worse? Are we traumatizing them? Am I going to get hurt? You have to be conscious and calm and work it through. And maybe even there's some areas where you have to expect more focus, more commitment to training, commands, leash, collar, when there's less going on, and just work on these duration trainings, place training, transitions in the house when there's less at stake, to get to the bigger transitions like doorways, walks, and new environments or social interactions. I hope it helps, because the theory philosophy behind it can sound abstract, but when you apply the actual training commands, you understand what commands are supposed to represent this deep level of focus, this idea of you're running a state, a program. When they hear sit, the dogs are sit, sit, focusing, or down, or heel, and their mind and body are connected. If you look into how single-pointed focus works in meditation for humans, it's no different, but for dogs, they have such a greater potential for that single-pointed state. So you make that the norm, conditioning kicks in, they make a calmer association, and then they learn impulse control, non-overstimulated responses to what you're trying to navigate through with the commands and your leadership, and you'll see it just starts becoming their new norm. And what's the new norm? Calmer ways to go with the flow of life without over-anticipating having anxiety or reactivity or lack of listening, impulse control issues tied to it. Okay. All right, so that's your Q&A for the day. Please keep them coming. Again, my email is dogtrainingla.com. I love feedback for the show. And don't forget to share, rate, review, subscribe on iTunes. We have a show every week. We're going to try to get more if you keep this thing going. The more, the better. Go on YouTube, subscribe, youtube.com. Dog Training LA is the name of the page. And train your dog. Get out there. Do something with your dog today. Teach him something new. Work on a skill. Your dogs have great potential for internal growth. So do we. So let's keep doing it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.